In order to ramp up my diet, currently based around achieving a calorie deficit, and motivate me, I thought I'd do an I ate like video. YouTube loves those things, so I asked my kids, who should I do? And they said everybody does The Rock. I thought, I like that, I love a pancake. They said, no, everyone does him already, you need to do somebody else. What about Chris Evans? I said, are you sure? They said, no, Chris from the Marvel films. I said, right, I got it. They said, no, that's Pratt, we mean Hemsworth. I thought, okay, Mr. Miley Cyrus. They said they split up and we mean the brother anyway. I thought, the brother? Don't they mean the dad? Chris Hemsworth, they said, but forget that, we checked, he's done as often as The Rock. I said, forget it, I've got it covered, I'll do Chris Rock. The kids said, who? I said, Chris Rock from New Jack City. They looked blank. I said, the zebra in Madagascar. They said, that's dumb, and walked off. So Chris Rock it is, and I thought this is going to be perfect because I already have lots in common with Chris Rock anyway. He has done some stand-up comedy.
So what's up?
I have also done some stand-up comedy.
Good evening.
And other similarities, probably. Most important though, what a great diet to start with, because I doubt he does anything anyway. No, it turns out Rock got ripped. Marvellous. So I searched the entire internet for some information on what his diet consisted of, what he did to get in good shape, and the only thing I could find was a little tiny line in the Hollywood Reporter article that those photographs came from that said he cut out sugar. That is it. That is all I have to go on, not a pancake in sight.
What, you want a cookie?
No thanks, Chris. I am going low sugar. And low sugar is actually not bad. I've done it before. In fact, when I went through my original huge weight loss journey, I was full on keto for a while. So I know what low carb, what low sugar in particular feels like. And I know the benefits that I get from it. Now, those benefits were significant, but very importantly, this is not advice. This is just what I am doing now, an explanation of what I've done in the past and how it worked for me. It is no more advice than suggesting you ate 14 pancakes had I got my original way and done The Rock. If you want to try this, crack on. If you don't, don't. As with all my videos, it is simply me saying, hey look, this is what I'm doing. So, low sugar. As I said in the past, I've done it and I like it. Number one, it is hard, but it is so simple. Do not eat sugar. If you can read a food label, you can follow that plan. People talk about how diets should not be overly restrictive, how they should be balanced, nothing should be completely off the table, and theoretically they are right. But in reality, for a lot of people, if you leave something on the table, it's going to get eaten. For me, just for me, I like to go strict with a plan at the beginning, settle the cravings down, and then find balance when I'm a few weeks in. I call it the takeoff plan. I'm going down the runway, I want to give it some stick, I want to get this thing off the ground and under control first. And then when I've done that and I'm cruising, I can relax a bit, I can bring the trolley around with the snacks on board. If I cruise down the runway, I'm going to crash into the trees, I'm going to die in a fireball surrounded by mini packets of pretzels. Number two, it works for all sorts of reasons. The very nature of cutting sugar out of your diet means you're going to be hacking away at things that would otherwise be calorie heavy. If you control your insulin levels by not bombarding yourself with sugar on a regular basis, your cravings are going to die down. It's going to be simply easier to control what you're eating. And at this point, a lot of people will say, of course it is, because you're overcomplicating. All you need to be doing is just saying calories in, calories out. And those people are right, but they are not quite right. Something being factually correct shouldn't be mistaken for being great advice in all circumstances. There is more to motivating somebody to achieve something than simply bombarding them with facts alone. And if you think I'm wrong, look at the obesity statistics. Evidentially, I'm not. People that have never been significantly overweight in their life but yell at people, eat less, move more, really need to understand that for a lot of people, they need something more to hang their hat on than just calorie counting alone. And number three, it educates people on what they're eating. A lot of people have no idea how much sugar is in what they're consuming. They start looking at labels, they get an understanding of it. My mother is a perfect example of this. A couple of years ago, she asked about a substitute she could have for her biscuits mid-morning with her coffee. I said, do what I do for a snack, have Greek yogurt. A week later, she said, I've been having Greek yogurt every day now, and it's the most delicious thing I've ever tasted. I said, really? The most delicious? What is in this Greek yogurt, Mum? Turns out it's full of honey. I had to explain that is not a substitute for a biscuit, that's as bad as a biscuit. She had no idea until she read the label. She did try and defend herself by explaining that a honeybee travels 5 miles a day in search of food. I pointed out that she doesn't go 5 miles a day, so put the yogurt down. And number 4, might not work for you, but for me, I feel great on it once I'm into it, once I'm cruising. My cravings for sugar by day 4 or day 5 just disappear. You could literally put chocolate in front of me and it wouldn't be a case of having to resist it and being able to. I simply wouldn't want it. I enjoy proper food more. I can taste proper food better. And the really big one, sugar is inflammatory to the body and that affects me. I can tell within a week or so a reduction in aches and pains. When I get up in the morning, I feel less stiff and achy despite the training I might have done the day before. And the really, really big one that might just be particular to me, so don't get excited if this applies to you, I have exercise-induced asthma. That means I need to take an inhaler, preventative inhaler, before I do cardiovascular exercise to any serious degree. If I was to not use this and go for a 10k run, by 4 or 5k I'd be really wheezy, and by 10k I'd be running into some serious problems actually. But when I was on 0 sugar, or as close to 0 as it's practical to get, bizarrely my asthma pretty much disappeared. I did a 25k run, didn't need it for that, did plenty of 10k runs, just didn't need it. I was feeling absolutely fine. I didn't do anything extreme. I wonder how doing a hardcore Zwift race where my heart rate is through the roof would have affected me. Don't know, but I can certainly go for a run and be okay. Right now, full of sugar, if I went for a run and didn't take my inhaler, I would not be okay. I'd be in trouble at 2k, very, very wheezy at 5k, and by 10k, I'd be seriously regretting what I'd done. So it'll be interesting to see in a few weeks' time whether that benefit has returned or whether, in fact, it was not actually linked to low sugar. It was purely coincidental that after asthma for about 40 years, it just disappeared at the same time I wasn't eating sugar. Who knows? We'll see. 3 weeks' time, I'll go for a run, stick it in my pocket, won't take it, and if I don't collapse, I'll report back. So let's have a low sugar day, and hopefully stating the obvious, although this video is just about what I'm doing today, clearly any sort of eating plan needs to be stretched out over a number of weeks at least before you see any sort of value or benefit from it. So the video is about today. My plan though is for this to become at least medium term. So with that said, first meal of the day is... It's going to have to wait because we had a 1 hour run to get in, so fasted. And by the time I get home after this cool down walk, it's going to be about 2 o'clock. So it's kind of pushed us into a sort of 16-8 intermittent fasting kind of timetable. And I've done both intermittent fasting and fasted cardio, and I've done them consistently, routinely, liked them a lot, got a lot out of them for what I was looking for at the time. That's not what I'm doing now though. I'm happy to take both of those and just drop them in if it happens to fit. So today's run, hour, fairly steady. I don't need food for that. I ate last night, that food's not gone anywhere. So I can run it fasted, and by sticking it in the middle of the day, it just naturally drops me into a 16-8 style, which is no bad thing. Why wake up and stuff myself if I simply don't need to? So where it fits, I'll happily use it. The focus today though, no sugar. Having said that, no sugar, once I get into the routine of it, helps massively with the other two because they are made an awful lot easier if I don't spend my morning before either cardio or the morning before breaking my fast early afternoon craving sugars and carbs, which is where I am when I'm eating normally, badly normally. I wake up 7 AM, I need a bowl of coconut pops. Once I get into the no sugar routine, those cravings go away, and sometimes it gets to 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm still not even hungry. I have to force myself to eat, slight exaggeration. I have to remind myself to go and eat. I'm not there yet though. I don't need to remind myself to eat now because I'm actually starving. Back from the run, and the thing that I do not want to be doing now is mucking about too much making my food. So very conveniently, I did it already. 7 AM this morning, everything for today was already either done and prepared, filled up, ready to go in the fridge, or things like I'm about to eat now, the eggs, laid out. I can't cook them at the time, but I can get them ready to go unless Jen's been around the kitchen and tidied up. If I make it simple, if I make it easy, it is more likely to get done. So that's the plan now. Shower, wash the dog. Hey, get back in that thing. And then I can eat. Okay, so since then I've had meal 1 and meal 2, and they are both perfect examples of how just a small tweak to what I'd normally eat can make them low sugar. The first up was scrambled eggs and spinach and avocado. Roughly 30 grams of protein, about 30 grams of fat, and about 10 grams of carbs. Only a couple of grams of simple sugars in the whole thing. And actually that couple of grams comes from the spinach, glucose and fructose in the spinach. And to be honest, if the most sugary thing you're eating is a bag of spinach, you're doing something right. Now that meal was yummy, it was filling, absolutely perfect, nothing wrong with it whatsoever. But I can guarantee you, if I wasn't focusing on low sugar and just eating what I wanted, no question, there'd be a couple of slices of toast on that, there'd be some brown sauce. That would give me 3 if not 4 times as much sugar and a bunch of unrequired carbs. Now I should add at this point, in terms of carbs, low sugar doesn't have to mean low carb, although it can be. It's not what I'm doing. I'm avoiding simple sugars. And you can argue that carbs are going to get processed into glucose anyway, but that's not my focus here. So, not going low carb particularly, mainly because the amount of training I do, I don't feel optimal if I'm low carb. I can do it, but I don't feel great, especially the high intensity stuff on the Zwift bike in particular. That said, I tend to put those carbs at the end of the day or earlier only if there is a particular endurance requirement for them. My first meal of the day, when all I've done is go for an easy run and I had plenty of food the night before, I just don't need those carbs at that point. And then meal 2, which I had after getting a bit of work done, a bit of a snack, my mum's favourite Greek yogurt, topped with 10 grams of unsweetened 100% dark chocolate and a little bit of cashew butter. Roughly 16 grams protein, 16 grams of fat, about 10 grams of carbs, about 6 grams of sugar, most of that coming from the lactose in the yogurt. And I don't need to tell you how easy it would be to tweak that particular meal very much in the wrong direction. If you want the ingredients list so you can make the topping on that 1,000 calories worth, I can hook you up easily enough, but you'll be as close to having a 6-pack as my mother. So my plan now is to do a 45 minutes weight session in here, after which I will have a 30 gram whey isolate protein shake, which is pretty much 26 grams of protein and not much else. Then I'll have a shower, a small break, and then I'll have my light lunch. That will consist of the other half of the avocado from this morning and a bit more spinach, tin of tuna, a little bit of mayonnaise. That's going to give me about 33 grams of protein, about 28 grams fat, about 10 grams carbs, a couple of grams of sugar again from that spinach. Now on this particular meal, if I had a hard endurance session coming up later on tonight, I'd happily add some carbohydrates to that, maybe put on some rice or some sweet potato with that salad. But I don't. I've got a pretty easy Zwift ride coming up tonight. I raced last night, so it's more of a recovery session tonight. I don't need to be loading up on carbs for that, so I'll be fine. Also, if you're thinking avocado and spinach, again, that's a bit boring. Yeah, it is. I don't really mind though. In this sort of takeoff phase, my focus is on making sure the meals are all nutritionally appropriate rather than yummy yummy. I'll worry about that when I'm cruising. I can make them fancy at any stage. That isn't my priority right now. Okay, bike ride done. I did, what, 53 minutes, 280 watts. So 53 minutes, 280 watts average. A hard ride, but not crazy tough. Enough to make me hungry though. I don't feel energy depleted, but I am hungry, which is convenient because I now get my main meal of the day: chicken, broccoli, rice. Real plain, real simple, doesn't matter. I've got a nice yummy snack coming later on, so I don't have to worry about satisfying my sweet tooth with this meal. I just need to get in the nutrition that my body needs, and because I'm hungry, within reason, I'll eat anything. Okay, legs are just about working okay. That chicken meal was 45 grams of protein, about 20 grams of fat and 55 grams of carbs, and very little sugar indeed. And if I needed to, I could have upped the carbs considerably. I could have actually doubled them if I felt like I needed it, but I didn't. I feel good. I feel like I have plenty of energy. So in the absence of feeling like I need it, I tend to be pretty relaxed about adding on carbs just for the sake of it. The main priority for me, keep that sugar content down. With a meal like that, the easy way to go overboard is smothering it in sauces. You can turn chicken and vegetables into just a calorie nightmare by doing that. The beauty of getting off the bike and being tired and hungry and wanting to eat is that salt and pepper is all you need and it tastes great. Now, before we wrap this up with my late night snack, let me just go over total calories, which I haven't really mentioned calories for each meal. I've just gone over the macros, and I've only redone those so you can see the ratio of one macro to the other. The reason I don't worry about calories, at least in the video, is because the calories that I'm consuming is only really relevant to me and what I'm doing. It's not going to be relevant to you. I have no idea how many calories Chris Rock ate a day, but he's not a particularly big guy. I expect if I ate his calories, I'd be passing out by 4 p.m. So calories are going to be very particular to you, the exercise you're doing, the size you are, and so on. But what is of use, I guess, is knowing how I work out the calories that I need. So really, really simple. I go online, I find a base metabolic rate calculator, I stick in my details, I tell it no exercise, and it gives me a bottom line figure needed to just maintain myself without training. And that is typically around 2,100 for me. And I've always had really good success with using that number and that being it. If I'm looking to reduce body fat, that's where I start with, the 2,100 number, because I'm always guaranteed a deficit when I chuck training in on top. And that just always seems to work. Today, for example, my total calorie intake is going to be around 2,200. Now that bike ride I did is going to be probably about 800 calories, maybe 700 on the run. I don't count calories burnt when I'm doing weights unless it is a crazy hardcore leg day. So I've burnt around 1,500 calories, let's say. I've eaten a fraction over my base metabolic rate number of 2,100, so I've got a big deficit there already. That is why I said on that last meal I just had, if I felt like I needed the extra carbs, if I felt hungry and craving them, I wouldn't hesitate to add them on, and I've got ample capacity to do so. Equally, if I don't feel like I need them, I'm not going to stick them in just for the hell of it. And the deficit isn't always going to be that big. There'll be some days where I just feel like I need to take on board more food. And the nice thing about having a big deficit in play is that I can do so. I don't have to worry about going and grabbing a handful of cashew nuts or something, because I know it's not going to bust me above the top of my calorie expenditure, because the calories I burnt today, 1,500 or thereabouts, is fairly routine for me. Apart from Mondays that I have off, I am typically doing a couple of sessions a day that are getting through 700 or 800 calories each. So those numbers are fairly routine for me. And at the weekend, they're even longer because I'm doing longer endurance sessions. It's nice. I don't have to worry too much. If I feel hungry, I can eat. And if I don't feel hungry, if I feel like I do now, if I feel full up, I know I've come way inside my calorie expenditure. Of course, you need to find what works for you. For me, the priority, the number one thing with low sugar is low sugar. Get that sorted, get the sugar out of the way, get the cravings under control, and I can then fine tune to my heart's content my diet once I've got that sorted. I can't do it while I'm still hungry for rubbish. To take the plane takeoff analogy as far as it can possibly go, if a pilot is heading to New York and he's at Heathrow, he doesn't aim for New York until he is well above the ground. Otherwise, he crashes into Terminal 4. That's what I'm doing now. I need to just forget everything other than get to where I need to be, which is not craving sugar. And my last meal of the day, my bedtime snack, which I've done a video on before, so I'll link up here so you can see the proper ingredients. But in summary, casein protein, collagen, mixed with xanthan gum to make it gooey, topped with chopped nuts, cocoa nibs, blueberries. If anyone's watching thinking, oh, your calorie deficit is too large, how will you ever cope? I think I'm covered, thank you very much. That will fill me up. It's got the casein protein for slow release protein overnight. It makes me feel like I've had a treat. It is perfect to sit and watch TV with. And much like the Greek yogurt, it's also a little bit of a taste test as well, because the deeper I get into low sugar, the more yummy that becomes. Right now, it's nice, but I guarantee you in a week or so's time, when I've not had proper simple sugars in my diet for a while, those blueberries will taste amazing. The cocoa nibs will taste like chocolate chunks. It is amazing how your taste changes when you don't bombard it with rubbish all the time. That meal ends up being literally the highlight of my day. Nutritionally, there are obviously, in case my wife is watching, other highlights to my day beyond chocolate mousse with some berries on top. Right, I'm now off to eat that. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please like and subscribe, because that is incredibly beneficial to me. I did think when I started this that doing Chris Rock, not eating sugar, wasn't going to actually leave me an awful lot to talk about, certainly compared to the more traditional I ate like nonsense. But actually, when I think about it now, a guy that's 55 years old, got himself in great shape, has refused to ever flash his abs again, doesn't rattle on about sets and reps and goodness knows what, just says, yeah, I cut out sugar. might be some of the most simple, straightforward, good advice from a celebrity on diet and fitness that I've seen in a long time.